and all these guys that I, grew up with, they both went to SMA too, so that was good, and yeah, it was, I played cricket up there too with some other friends, and so it was good. In the summertime, it was nice going up there, and I think the only challenge, I mean, that was the challenge there growing up, is having to carry water. Oh my goodness. That was rough, man. Like we would have to go down in the river, especially when in the Caribbean season in the summertime the water in certain areas dry up. We would have to go all the way to the river and carry water on a Sunday afternoon. Man, that was the toughest time. It was difficult. Have to put it on my head and walk. I mean, we had to walk about probably a mile and a half. That's pretty, and an uphill too. And it's not flat, it's uphill, right? Going up
Hmm.
the river all the way up the village. But hey, you do what you got to do. And.
I don't
Made
think
you strong.
Nigel, I don't think you had those days. But as you were saying that, I was just remembering like Marak in Grand Four, and like that's what we had to do. Have your jerry cans of water on your head,
Yeah, the jerry can, oh my
and
God.
going downhill and
Yeah.
uphill, and like a mile and a half, and just walking in the hot sun. But you have to do it.
Especially on a Sunday, man.
Yeah.
It's almost like Sunday. The sun was hotter on Sundays, I'm telling you right now.
But it's interesting, Nigel. It's
But
really
but as
interesting
you
where we are
mentioned that
now.
though, I mean, both as you and I both mentioned that though, I'm wondering, I mean, if the kids of today, because they don't have, I'm not going to say those hardships, but they don't have those experiences of having to do those things, and so they take a lot of stuff for
For
granted
granted.
now.
That's it, Nigel. That's it.
You know?
Because the things that we had to
Well,
do before, and as compared to now, I mean, if just getting up to go to school, before you go to school, you have to wake up early. You had a routine to follow. You had to
yeah.
ensure that you clean the yard
Oh yeah.
whatever. Get your fiber from the mattress that you were sleeping on to wash your pots and pans and ensure that it shine. And things like that. You had to go and throw some stuff. Anyways, it was just so much, and just to
Different
make that
time, yeah, yeah.
connection and just to bring back, just to relieve sort of these things. It's really wow. That's
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
That's community.
It was a different environment,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, even like, I mean, Tuti talking about carrying the water in Boydeca, but even us in Roseau,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah.
in Phil's Lane, for many, many years, I grew up there as a young boy, and we had no pipe-borne water at the house where we were in Phil's Lane. We had to go to the standpipe to collect water.
Hmm.
And you had, on top of that, you had those, what you call, those galvanized buckets. We didn't have plastic buckets. The bucket on itself is heavy already. Can you imagine when that has water in it?
And so Nigel, I even met that when I was a young girl as well. So you see, we stayed in that period for a long time though,
Yep.
because I met
Yeah,
it. I met it. I
yeah.
was doing it as well.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
what.
Yeah,
Here's
and
the
I
thing. It just felt natural, didn't it? I mean, it was no, it's almost that's what we knew and that's what we did, and we did it selflessly, and you know what I'm saying? It was, I don't know, it just felt natural. I think it's like an organic plant, right? Normally, when you have fertilizer or you have, what you call it now, pesticides, it creates such a environment for the plant that the plant doesn't have to struggle to grow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the nutrient content in that plant is not as strong and as potent as an organic, plant, which doesn't have all this, it has to survive in every environment. It has to survive. It has to. So the nutrient content is a little more potent because it develops all kinds of antibodies too. That's what I think we are. I mean, we're the organic plants, in our time and before us too, of course. But I think that period there was really, really shaped our lives and,
Of
to the
course, so
good.
but come in the discussion as well, because I know in Maho you too, you had your fair share before you went to school, the things that you had to do to ensure that you arrive on time, but
Yeah.
you had your routine to follow every morning as well.
Yeah, I think that's why I said that's what defined the period in which we lived. That's the period of the 60s and 70s, and as Alvin said, those even before us, those who came before us, we stood on the shoulders in many ways, because that was survival. You had to survive as a society and as a people, and I think it helped later on to usher in, programs for change, build youth activism and solidarity and collaboration. And it forced people to, at the community level now, to find solutions to those problems, those challenges that we face as communities, as country, as a region. Now, the important thing is, the question is in terms of leadership, and I think that is where the SMA connection is important, because SMA was able to provide a kind of education, a kind of training to help in bringing or developing the human capacity that was required for the change that was necessary in Dominica in the 60s, 70s, and beyond. And so that institution was pivotal, was crucial for the redefinition of country and of self in many ways. So many of our leaders came from St. Mary's Academy and Grammar School, of course. And clearly, so what we had happening was a survival culture. Tuti spoke about the survival. And at the same time,
So, but I don't know. Maybe I'll give you a chance to clear your throat, and let's see what happens. But Nigel, I don't know. You see that,
Yes,
that
that
SMA
usually
word there that
happens
just come in
anyway.
there
Why
every
is
time.
it
I think I tired here SMA. So let us let us say the school, man. Let us say the
Yes,
school.
but yes, yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, putting everything into context and the whole SMA and the reunion and what's going to be happening, but laying the foundation for that as to what, what you guys had to go through and all others around that time went through before they entered into the doors of SMA. So, that's very important as well.
let me just highlight
nothing to do for a conversation. Totally aside.
But Sobers was highlighting something. Let's hear from him. And we have. I mean, there's so much we want to discuss in this short space of time. But
there's a lot.
Yeah. So I was saying that so two things. So we had in many ways a sort of a convergence of two things. One, of resilience of community. You know, we had to struggle against the difficult situation that we face with as a society, as a country. And at the same time, we were able to inspire each other through community efforts, through community organizations, through social, cultural activities, because culture and heritage help to also define the society, you know, whether it was be folk culture, and then theater and dance and music. That was part of the society as well, in a big way. We talk about sports culture as a major part of integrating and building communities. And at the same time, we had the necessity of organization, of building a leadership that helped to bring about the change that was necessary. So political leadership, community leadership, national leadership. So a number of things were converging at the same time, folks. Yeah? And so for us who went to high school, we were seen as natural leaders in the community. So when we were part of the youth groups, we had to assume key positions in the youth group. When we were part of the sports clubs, we had to be part of the leadership of the sports clubs and so on. A lot of people looked up to us to provide the leadership. And Tuti made the point in Newtown and in Maho and in other communities. So in Maho, for example, there were a number of people who came before me, and people like Emerson John Charles, people like Gordon Morrow, my cousins Francisco and James Esprit, and many others who before me were seen as natural leaders because they got the high school education. Of course, I have to highlight Elkin Henry as one of those mentors and stalwarts in the community that helped to inspire and build a kind of new cadre of leadership that was coming out of that community. And that's why it's important for the community to work to see us as part of them, and for us to see ourselves as part of the community. We couldn't be divorced from what was happening in the community. So we have to bear all of these things in mind, and then to pivot that now to going into St. Mary's Academy and the experience there.
Interesting, Nigel. And there's another conversation as well that's happening on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So, Nigel, I think we need to capture some of it.
Not only a conversation, because people reconnecting with their old boyfriend and old girlfriend.
Yeah. And this brings into essence.
Joseph gives Tuti an old girlfriend say hi. I don't want to call her name because you say you were old girl or you were old girlfriend, so I'm not saying too much about that. But anyway, Is connecting. She from Newtown. She says good morning to you. Nice seeing you again. Been a long while. She hasn't seen you. Marshall SMA
Say
says,
hello. Say hello.
I said hello to her too. I won't call her name, but hello to you. It's nice to know you're connecting. It's nice to know every Saturday Ivona and Nigel do it for me on a Saturday. Connecting the dots is what it is. So good morning to you. He says good morning too. Marshall SMA, see what connecting the dots does. It connects people. Marshall SMA left a positive impact, well equipped for life. Colbert Pinard, good morning to you as well. Appreciate you joining and connecting. All that is SMA old boys that, saying hi and everything else. Carl Kofi James says, yeah, all those things made us strong, gave us character and a great sense of purpose. Sonia Charles, memories, we worked so hard and is no water available. Kids refuse to wash their clothes now. They don't have to carry big buckets, but now they refuse to do any work. She says, good morning. So, I mean, as always, there's a conversation within the conversation happening on the book and on YouTube as well. So, good morning to you, Elizabeth Thomas. Ivona, we have to represent you today. Yes, don't worry, we represent Ivona today. It was going to be tough for you, but I know
Me,
you got
Papa.
it. Of course.
It's all right. It's okay. I just planned it in my head. You know what's going to happen very soon.
Part of SMA.
What's going to happen very soon? Because we'll stand and we'll sing our school song with pride and purpose. So I hope. By the way, any of you remember the school song? Alvin, Sobers, Tutti. Any of you remember your school song?
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
not.
Oh yes, but can we sing it? That's
But of course, but I want to sing it at least. Well, I know it myself. I know the SMA school song by heart.
Yeah.
Even before I went to Dominica Grammar School, so
That's
let's imagine that. Because as I said, I had a close connection with SMA. So like sing a song, sing a line for us, man, sing a verse or something.
Alvin.
Why are you doing that to me?
Alvin.
Why are you doing that?
Alvin.
Okay, just recite it like a poem. Just recite it like a poem.
We'll take that. We'll take that in the end.
Okay, we'll live in a blaze of glory.
Practice.
Okay.
They're going to practice. Practice.
But let us talk about SMA.
Yeah.
Let us go
Yes.
there. Let us talk about SMA and what it meant for you as young boys, entering the doors of this august institution. And look at where you are now. So let us look at this school setting. What was happening at the time when you started to the time when you left? And as we mentioned earlier, of course, Dominica was already on that path to enter in a tumultuous period in its history. And we spoke about the Dread Act and the Dread phenomenon, and so many things that was happening. And I asked earlier what was happening at the school, whilst, so much was happening on the outside. So let us go to SMA now. Let us don our books and our bags and everything, our uniforms, and let us go there. Let the conversation start with SMA. Tell us about that.
Alvin, you're the leader. Alvin, you're the leader. Start.
Well, if I may though, I mean, you heard from Sobers, from Tutti and myself, and I think all of what we have said so far embodies in our school motto, and in terms of what it means and some context. So for our motto is ora et labora. It's a Latin word which means pray and work. And ora, it calls to ground our life in faith, spirituality, moral values. That's basically what it is. It has nothing to do with any particular religion. It emphasizes the importance of prayer, reflection, and seeking guidance from God in daily life. So no matter where you are, there's this higher being, whatever you want to call him, that you reflect with, you meditate, and you seek guidance. Now, labora, which is work, is a reminder of dignity of work, discipline, study, service. That's important. Service. You heard me talk about all the service he did. It stresses perseverance, hard work, and responsibility as essential to personal growth and community contribution. So together, when we say ora et labora, it reflects that balance between spiritual life and practical effort, teaching that true excellence comes when faith inspires action and work is guided by a higher principle. So that pretty much encapsulates what Sobers have just said, because SMA, and when we enter the doors of SMA, those of us who've gone there over the years, it embodies and instills a certain value of discipline, service, leadership, and excellence in its students. So when someone like Nigel graduates from SMA, he automatically, he automatically gravitates towards getting involved in theater and other stuff. Tutti automatically sobers. Several other persons. I mean, in my case, for example, I graduated in 75, 74, 75, and I joined the public service in 1975. And by 1977, I got elected as assistant treasurer, at the Civil Service Association as a young man. I got on the executive of that powerful trade union at that time, at that tender age, because SMA had instilled in me that leadership already, which I got, and felt confident enough that I can serve at the level of an assistant treasurer, at the executive level. With a public service union at the time. I was just a young public officer, joined like a little junior clerk. But yeah, I was the assistant treasurer on the executive. And I moved throughout the years from assistant treasurer to finally general secretary. And the rest can go on in terms of my own involvement. The same can be said for Tutti and Sobers and several other persons. So as we go into the SMA, this is what is provided to us. And therefore, we just felt that we had that impact so much that looking back 5 decades now, 50 years, that's a long time. I mean, don't start to do calculations, but 50 years, it's a long time. And we felt, but you know what? We definitely need to come back, not just for us to meet as the students of the 50s, but with that same spirit of giving back again and leadership. What can we do to further develop SMA, give back to our alma mater? And obviously, throughout the conversation, you might hear some of the initiatives that we are going to be involved in, and we continue to be involved in. Quite apart from the reunion, as you know, Nigel, you're part of it. We have this huge initiative that we're undertaking with the school, and every one of us here involved with that. So I think that is the context within which we as SMA boys, and many of those who are listening now, and at earlier clock, I want to send this appeal out to wherever you are, SMA old boy, wherever you're listening. If you don't join that reunion, trust me, bro, you'll be missing out. It's the first. We've never had a reunion. It's the first in the 93 years of the school history. You better get on board and get involved.
The first reunion in 93 years of history, that's what you said?
Yeah.
93 years in the school, the formation of the school, the SMA. But in our reunion is a 50-year lifespan, 5 decades since we left that institution, and we are now seeking to have some sort of reflection and celebration.
Yeah. But so was from in terms of a historical perspective, we're coming into SMA in the 75, 74, that period of time. Not only in Dominica, but throughout the rest of the Caribbean, we have this consciousness, we have the Black Power movement, we have the whole issue of maybe saying, the brothers should leave and who should come in and who should be the principal.
So much was
all
happening,
those things
yes.
were going on at the time.
And even during that period, Nigel, history notes that I think it was in 1974 that Edward Libla retired as chief minister, and he was replaced by Patrick John, something like that.
Yes,
so
we
history was
had
so
all that
rich then.
Yeah, it was a political thing.
And Patrick John is the SMA old boy, yeah? Patrick John was an SMA.
Yes.
He taught at SMA too for a short period.
So
yeah.
So but in terms of all that, I mean, entering SMA during that time and being in SMA during that time, what was going on? What was it like to be part of that whole milieu?
Yeah. So I think Alvin gave a good background, put the context in terms of why we chose SMA. First of all, it was all of those things: moral and spiritual teachings, the question of leadership, because you were inspired by people in the community and in the country you saw who had been to SMA, and they helped to inspire you. Also, the question of service. You see a lot of SMA graduates coming back and providing service and so on. They were involved in a set of activities around the country and so on. But as I said earlier, it is a convergence of things happening all at once, as you say. It was the challenges of the time. It was building resilience, but it was also political and social formation. You know, building the human capital for Dominica's journey as a nation later on that would help to take shape. So we chose SMA, and I know for me, if I chose SMA, mainly, first of all, I was always clear that I wanted to go to St. Mary's Academy. There was no question about going anywhere else. I also wanted to go to St. Mary's Academy. And there were a number of reasons. As I said, they had to do with people who I saw inspired me, and they had gone to SMA and so on.
Yes, sir. Well, SMA name there. So
Also, the school meant something to me at the time, you know, so I think that helped to get me into St. Mary's Academy. But having, you know, entered the school, you recognize, therefore, then that, hey, it's not all, you know, nice and dandy, it's not all hanky-dory. There are issues at play in the school environment, yeah? We're talking about a period, the early 1970s. We know what happened in the early 1970s in the Caribbean? It was a period of heightened black consciousness, of trying to define who we are as a society. And that was at play at St. Mary's Academy. So the older boys at the school were part of the movement for social and political change in the country. And that was the SMA we entered in 1970. For many of us at 11 and 12 years, we probably didn't realize that, yeah? But we end up getting caught up in that, in the throes of all of those things. But SMA had its own internal challenges, its own internal problems with the Christian Brothers, a black school. I mean, let's be very honest about it. A black school led by Christian Brothers who had a different cultural background and formation than us. And as I said, because of the period of the 1970s, globally, what is happening. And because of all of these things, it helped to shape the SMA, the early SMA of the 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s. And by 1971, things got to a head, you know. And we had the famous walking out of students in 1972, that which they call the SMA revolution, which was sparked by an incident between a brother and a student, which gave rise to that.
The SMA revolution?
The SMA revolution of 1972. All right. And but as I said, things were brewing up at the school, you know, and it was because of what had happened in the wider community, but also what is happening internally at the school. And if you had been to SMA, if you grew up in that time, you knew what I'm talking about, you know. And so after that walkout, we know there were massive changes in the school. A new kind of leadership, a new kind of management. But Father Kelvin Felix, who ended up being Cardinal Felix, took over the management of the school. And years later, Brother Egbert Germain came in 1975 to really get the school moving and in a faster pace and a more effective management for that period of time. But the SMA of the 1970s was a difficult time, folks, but it was a great time in terms of the formation, in terms of the community, because we had a great student community. You know, we reveled in sports, in the arts. The majority of the Calypso guys of the 70s, they came from SMA. Gordon Henderson, Fitzroy Williams. And if I start to call the names, it will take me another year.
I should have spoken to Sobers before, you know, to set some rules. Sobers, we had a nice long conversation yesterday.
Oh,
I mean,
my gosh.
So,
but that was SMA. And
so
theatre.
Recent time, you have Colton T, Daddy Chess.
Well, I was talking about the 70s.
Yes,
I mean,
Alvin,
our
come
time.
on, yeah.
Yes, Alvin. Yes, Alvin, you want to rub it in. Alvin,
Yes,
don't rub it in,
boy.
please. Yeah, don't rub it in. Dice and Shelly and those.
Nigel, you see where you have me on tidy?
No. But
You
no.
notice I'm not saying anything.
So again, SMA was the 70s was defined by a period of difficulties in the school internally in terms of the leadership, the management of the school. And which gave rise to the revolution of the 70s and the challenges in terms of educational pursuit because the school had a lot of challenges in terms of delivering the quality education that it once used to. So by the late 70s, by mid to late 70s, a lot of things happened at the school, for good and for bad. Yeah. But in spite of that, we flourish in terms of sports, of the arts, of political activism, of youth leadership, of inspiring a new generation, calling them to service and to action.
Okay.
That was SMA
I'm
of the
looking at
70s.
the Facebook, and Noreen Joseph is saying, I remember Percival Marie
Percival,
and Romel
yes.
Lawrence
That's
at the
right.
forefront of the SMA struggle
Yeah.
in the 1970s.
Yeah.
So-
a whole lot of leaders emerged from that during that period. I mean, people like Desmond Trotter and people like Reginald Amor, who was recently Attorney General in Trinidad and Tobago, Herbert Volney, who was a minister in Trinidad and Tobago, and countless others, Emerson John Charles. Guys, it's a lot. You know,
It is.
it is a lot. I did talk
that
about
foundation-
Alwyn Bully and Raymond Lawrence and Lennox Honeychurch. Alwyn did both grammar school and SMA, by the way. So,
Yes.
but they came from that experience. They came from the SMA experience.
Nigeria, you want to another 2 hours, man?
Yeah, I
Well, yeah,
suspect
we
that.
should. But I mean, so Tuti, from your perspective,
Yeah,
though,
let's hear
I
from
mean, in
Tuti.
terms of being there during that time and having all what was happening in the country, in the Caribbean, even inside SMA and so on. What was it like for you at that time, though, during SMA?
Well, I was deeply involved in sports, also at SMA. But I think what I do want to say, in spite of all what was going on around us, I think it was still a focus on the education too. I mean, I don't think that focus was lost at all. But I was very involved in sports, and I think it helped me to go on and play football and soccer for the national team and all that stuff. But I think that's where I really, a lot of time was spent in cultivating that aspect of my life there. And but yeah, of course, there was the political stuff that we got caught up in. But then I think one thing that I remember from SMA is the relationship that I built with the professors. I think that stands out to me. Ray Harris, for instance. I mean, I just love listening to him talk, and he would just. I mean, a lot of things I learned from him. Just the way he communicates, the depth of his understanding of things. I mean, he was just so. And I think that helped me develop an appreciation of people of good communicators, that really helped me to. And then I think also it also piqued my curiosity in things, So I mean, education is more than just understanding the things that are taught. Is I think it's helping you develop the ability to be curious, and I think I've never lost that ability to be curious over time. And I think that's one thing that that I really learned from SMA, just that stuff. Yeah, but it was dynamic. There were a lot of things going on. It was a rich education. We learned, I mean, we were thrown into politics, and I mean that I don't think that, I mean, yes, there were some relationships that were ruined, but I think we were resilient. We were able to bounce back and appreciate the institution despite what was going on. We loved the people that we were around, all the people, like friends that we grew up. I mean, there was a lot going on. It was a very complex time, but you see, I think that complexity helped us become more holistic people.
I want
And I
one
think
of
all
you
that is what is going to
to.
go towards the whole reunion. Yes, I wanna.
No, I was just saying, I want one of them to take us back to a time at school days, obviously, sort of relive a moment, especially where discipline was concerned, because of course SMA was well known for its high level of discipline. So one of your fondest memories, something you can remember, it could be at a school assembly, it could be in the classroom, it could even be outside of the school. Just give us one of your memories of what you remember. Let it hinge on the area of discipline, obviously. Any one of you can
I mean, if I may jump first, I don't recall exactly what it was, but I know I got caned by Estrado, and it wasn't
Brother
pleasant.
Bassett.
But yeah, I got caned, by Estrado. And it wasn't pleasant, and I couldn't go home and tell my parents that I got killed. I could dare not do that. So the discipline was really, really.
You could not do that, Alvin. Why? You could not go home and tell your
Well,
parents
how
that.
could I go
Why?
and tell my parents?
No, I know, but I want you to say it. I want you to say it because it's important.
I was scared. I was nervous. I felt if I say that, they're going to ask me what, and she'll bring me to the school
To get another one.
and ask
That's
the
it.
brother, the principal, what happened, why did he get caned, and may get a second meeting at home, But that's what it was. The question of demerits and detention, I got a few. We had real fun in the class. Very fun, of course. We can never forget Miss Mary would bring our recess, but that was secondary. Our main recess was our coconut cheese and bakes from Miss Mary. And guys would line up that would sell. Hail up to Elvin Thomas and Rennie was listening. I mean,
Well, I
yeah.
know why he was caned, because he stole my recess and I went to complain.
Who stole your recess?
complained.
Who stole your recess, Tutti?
Who
stole your
he had the
recess?
street. It's funny, you can take
Alvin stole
you
his
can
recess.
take people from the streets, but you can't take the streets out of people,
Folks,
So
yeah,
he
here's the
stole
thing.
my recess, and I went and I lodged a complaint.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it publicly because I was kind of scared a little bit from this guy.
But just going back a little quick.
No, Alvin, hold on a while. The recess thing. Let me just talk about the recess thing.
Papa, story
Because
of-
Sure, go ahead.
interestingly, folks, all three of us, we were from the same classroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who did it, who made a determination to put these three guys together this morning, because we started in 1970 in class 101, and we went right for fifth form. So,
That's right.
but Tutti was notorious for having recess every single morning, my dear.
Yeah.
Every day.
Remember the man came from the Harlem community,
no.
He
I'm
Of
talking
course.
about
Make
Joseph
right there.
Tutti Gis. And he used to share recess with the rest of the class. So you know how much recess his mother used to give him to come to
Yeah.
school. That's all I would say.
But Alvin, in his streetness, whatever that is, you know what I'm saying?
Stole your recess.
Hijacked the whole classroom, stole my recess. So, the protest was bigger than Alvin.
So yeah.
Nigel?
Yeah.
Nigel, I was saying let's just check the book again because I think it's busy, and some names will also come up. Nigel, I was reading one of the comments a short while ago. I think I lost it though, but let us just see what the book is saying. Okay, Daniel Theodore is saying, yes, Nigel, it was great at SMA in our days. I used to board and lounge at your home, Nigel. Did you hear that?
Yes.
With Miss
Yes.
Maud, with Debbie
Yes.
Albert and others. I won't miss this reunion, and that's good. And he's also
Yes.
asking another
Good morning to
question.
you,
What's-
Daniel, who was, as you said, my mama used to just have everybody, as sober say, from the countryside, if you want to put it that way. But everybody used to come at home because they didn't have somewhere to stay. So she would just welcome them and they would stay there whilst they were at school. So my
But
home was
he's
like
also
a community,
asking,
a
Nigel.
community center.
He's also asking what has become of Brother Jermaine. Well, we had Brother
Oh,
Jermaine as a guest
Brother Jermaine.
more
Yes,
than
we had
once,
Brother
and he
Jermaine
was on
on
not too
couple
long
weeks
ago
back.
again. Yes.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
here. He's doing well. Everything back home, kind of, but back and forth here. But Brother Jimmy is doing extremely well. So good morning to you, brother. For all those that you cane and all those that you pinch your chest. Yes, he pinched my chest. Every time I see him, they remember you pinch my chest. But that was back then because he didn't want your shit to be. You see, that's the other thing about the SMA. And even
Yes,
today,
yes.
sometime when I'm sitting, you might see me still doing this. That was from SMA days. His brother
button
didn't
up.
mind if your shit was on.
Yep. Wasn't up.
He would pinch. He would just hold that and pinch that. And then even now I still do that.
And SMA as well. SMA has maintained. Nigel said SMA has maintained the crest, right?
Yes.
I know the Dominican Grammar School. I wanted the crest.
You see the crest?
The
Yeah, you see that
embroidered,
crest,
yes.
Original crest.
Yes.
The original crest. Now you had to have it.
Hey, but Nigel, you boast that we, Nigel?
Yeah.
Nah,
Make sure it's well
man.
buttoned. That costs a lot, That's used. That's the if I was to sell that now, So that was the original thing. It had to be make sure it's well buttoned up there, and if not, he would just pinch that.
And on the right, and on the proper side of the shirt.
Boy, brother Jimmy, pinch me on the
Yeah,
chest
we
already.
can
You got
try.
there's a lot of boys who have marks. They pinch. But yes, Walkers wants to say good morning.
Hey,
Walkers says, what was that to you?
No, the discipline now we laugh at it, but man, even the
Yeah.
small things, you know, I mean, it just helped us. It helped us just become who we are. You know, I
It
mean,
did, it did, it did. It
yeah, yeah.
definitely did that foundation, man. So Walker says, good morning, great discussion. He says, I want to don't feel no way. It's all about SMA today. DGS is a great school, but today it's our time. Aura et labora. Yes, Walkers, good morning. Nigel, you didn't get the memo to go bald headed, man. That was not right.
Yes, sir. I'm even dizzy with all that
Oh
estimate
my
up there.
gosh.
I'm
Well,
dizzy
the
sorry,
power
now.
look,
unfortunately,
I'm
unfortunately, my hair is still here. I'm still good.
Yes.
So.
Nigel, I can take a break. Boy, that estimate talk got me dizzy. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
can I just say something?
Yes, yes.
I know we're going to come to it, but I want to introduce it, you know. For people who are interested in the reunion, just go to St. Mary's Academy, class of 1974, 1975 alumni, and the registration forms on there. And, you know, you can immediately register. And here's the good thing. Even if you're not going to be there, we would love people to be there. But even if you're not going to be there, but register, be part of it,
Yeah,
because
like
we're going to
this.
have this one nice plaque that we're going to develop, and you know, where everybody who participated is going to be recognized, you know,
Yeah.
in this. So,
Yeah.
Well, since you bring it up, I
But
mean,
before we go to onto the
Yes.
reunion, Nigel, I think Tutti started it, so let me just continue it because
about the recess.
no, it's not about the recess.
No.
There
We
was
passed
some.
that.
There was some.
I've been the one to remember
Yes.
that. Why are you bringing that back up?
So
to
two things: the community, the student community, that was a great community in spite of, as I said, in spite of the challenges. And secondly, there was some teachers, well, to call them professors, we never call them professors in Dominica, teachers who inspired us from day one. And Tutti spoke about Ray Harris. You know, I think Ray Harris, although he taught us for Tutti less than a year, he inspired all of us. All of us who passed through that classroom of 101, 102, Ray would have been a major influence in them. And there were others during that 5-year period. I can recall people like Patrick Henderson, who was our French teacher in the early days. We had then, of course, people like Herbert Volney. For me, not Herbert, I mean Henry Volney, my history teacher, the best history teacher in the world,
taught me history
Mr. Volney. And then later on, people in the sciences. But
yes.
I think the natural science teachers of Mr. Sorrento and Mr. Lance, they have to be highlighted for their efforts. They were tremendous.
Sure.
But they were not just not social or natural science teachers, they were leaders as well.
Cricketers too.
Yes, they were leaders in the school. They helped to get the school moving again, you know. And so there were lots of teachers who really had a big impact on our lives. So I say Ray Harris, Patrick Henderson for me. Then we had some women who passed through SMA for brief periods. Miss Curtin, Noreen John, who's deceased, Ophelia Marie, who taught me for a short while. We had Miss Schools Latig, who was there for a short while as well. Of course, Heather, who's been there ever since. Is she still there at SMA?
Yeah,
I think so, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she is.
So can you imagine Heather was there
SMA
during
or-
our time? You know?
Yes. Heather taught me as
SMA,
well.
Yes.
Heather is still
she's
there.
there.
Yeah. So there was some big influencers,
Okay.
teachers who influence our lives and who help to shape. We look up to them. you
So,
know.
but as you're talking about women, and before we go on to,
Yes.
get more about the
reunion.
reunion, just tell us about the
Oh.
journey from SMA on Turkey Lane, right?
Yes.
On Turkey Lane, and when you had to cross up to Queen Mary Street and then go on to Virgin Lane to go to the convent high school. What was that happening in those days? And how were you dressed, though? What was the uniform like back in the day?
Yeah.
So let's go there a little.
Yeah. Well, there was always this natural connection between St. Mary's Academy and Convent High School. Hello. I mean, that is natural.
And I go
So
to
you're-
give the politically correct answer.
Let me
There was a natural connection between St. Mary's Academy and Convent High School.
They're both Catholic schools,
Schools.
right?
That is the reason.
Yes, I-
You know, students from Convent High School came to SMA for 5th form and 6th form classes,
Yeah.
and vice versa. You know, I
Vice
remember.
versa. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
just yesterday I was speaking with Rick Augustus, and Rick reminded me that during that time he took some classes at Wesley High School and also Convent.
Yeah.
And Lennox Rock. Lennox is in Boston now. I think Lennox is coming up for the reunion. He took classes at Convent.
Yeah.
Because bear in mind, to one of the things that as we spoke earlier about the revolution, if you call it that, we were really young kids, you know, man. I mean, this thing caught us in the 72.
Unaware.
Unaware. We started school in